Open Postman. I hope you are aware that Postman is a tool we can use for testing APIs. Create a workspace to keep all your admin panel related APIs organized. If you ever need to share these APIs with someone, you can do so easily by sharing the workspace. Create a new collection in this workspace named Admin Panel APIs. Inside this collection, add a new request and name it according to the API name. This makes it easier when we return to Postman to test other APIs, as we will have a stored list of previously used and tested APIs. Let's change this GET request to POST. Now, we will add URL of our API to test. This URL starts with http:// It tells the browser or API client to use the standard HTTP protocol for communication. If the server was secured with SSL or TLS, the URL would have started with https:// Now this localhost refers to the computer or server where the application is running. In production, this would typically be replaced with a domain name. "5000 is the port number where the backend server is listening. Ports help differentiate different services running on the same machine. In this case, the Express.js server is configured to run on port 5000. /API is a prefix that groups API routes. This prefix is added in our main server file. /create_user is the specific route being accessed. Let's pass params in request body. Select the body tab, then choose raw and ensure the format is set to JSON. Now, inside the curly braces, add the parameters and their values. Let's click on this send option and check our response. Here is our response with message, user created and the user object. Exactly as defined here in create user function of user controller class. Let's check out users table in database. Here, we can see the data that was inserted through an API using Postman. Let's insert one more row in this table. Here I am changing role to viewer, adding username as admin2, and let's keep the email as same and see what happens. Oh, we got the validation error. Because here in this user's model class, we have added condition that email must be unique. So, let's change this email and hit this send option again. Here we get our desired response. And data is also saved in this users table. Here you can see that this ID is 3 instead of 2. Because SQLize auto-increments the primary key, even if a transaction fails, and the auto-increment counter does not reset automatically. Now, to avoid such situations, we must run a function to check if entered username or email is unique or not. Let's create a user-unique function, which will be asynchronous arrow function. Here it's taking 2 params, such as username and email. Now, to check whether username exists or not, we will use SQLize's find_one method, which will search for an existing user, where username matches the input. Using same method, we will check whether email exists or not. Now, if both username exists and email exists are null, this unique variable will store true, and we will get true in return. And if only username exists, then unique will store false, username exists will store true, and email exists will store false. Same happens when only email exists will store true, and rest variables will store false. Now let's make some changes in this create user API. Here, after requesting body, we will call this user unique function and will store its result in this uniqueness check variable. So here we are expecting to get result as true to proceed with the creating user, but if we get result as false, we will check these conditions and provide the response accordingly. So you can see here, after saving changes, previous data is deleted. Let's change this force true to alter true so that it will update table structure without data loss. Let's test this API one more time. Here we have added again the first user in the table. Now let's create validation error. Let's add the correct parameters and see what ID gets stored in the database. Now, we can see that after adding the correct parameters, the ID is stored as 2. Which means, we have fixed the issue of the ID auto-incrementing on errors. So let's move toward the next API,